Joining us now, former OMB Director Mick Mulvaney. Mick, we love having you on the show. Okay, Mick, more and more this president is sounding like the Rodney Dangerfield, I get no respect president. The media is saying even no to a State of the Union. It's like Carnival Hour. No one believes what the top spin. So what do you expect he's going to say? He's really pushing it with the truth. What do you say to his claims that he inherited a collapse and high inflation from Trump?
Yeah, nobody believes that. But Liz, you make a really good question. And Senator Blackburn, Marcia just made a great point about what is the truth. Let's make sure the fact checkers are there tonight. On the balloon thing, for example, if he does address it tonight, and he says that it happened during Trump, so it's okay because it happened during my administration as well. It was happening before I got here, which he says about just about everything, including inflation, which is bizarre. There's a couple possibilities that either it happened during the Trump administration, the military saw it and didn't tell us, because I was in the White House for all of 2019 and I didn't know about any of these things. So either they saw it, caught it, and didn't tell us. That would be wrong. Or it happened and they didn't see it, that would be wrong. Or it didn't happen and they're lying now, which would be wrong. So there's no good way out of this. Be curious to see how the president addresses that issue tonight, in addition to all the other economic issues that it looks like he's going to be focusing on.
Well, you know, he's underwater in the polls. Now we've got Monmouth University, Mick, saying 6 out of 10 say America is weaker under this president. ABC, Washington Post, they're finding 2/3 feel like he didn't get anything done. Majority of Democrats tell ABC and Associated Press they don't want him to run again. So, you know, he's claiming all these things like he created 12 million jobs. He did not. They were regained after pandemic shutdowns to destroy 25 million jobs. So by Biden's own logic, President Trump created nearly 13 million jobs.
Yeah, but Biden's not well known for logic. Look at the Monmouth poll on the strength versus weakness. If you're an ordinary voter and you pay attention a little bit, maybe you watch this program once a week, once every other week, you pay attention a little bit. What have you seen? You've seen a disaster in Afghanistan. You've seen, not really a coherent response to Ukraine, and now you've got a Chinese balloon that they can't shoot down for a week. So, yeah, I think the ordinary person sort of looks at this and says, you know what? I didn't like Donald Trump very much, but he certainly wasn't weak.
So, we've got breaking news. We got breaking news coming in. Let's show it. eBay is now cutting 500 jobs. So, Mick, we've got a long, long list now of companies cutting jobs. The president is fighting over spending cuts. He's fighting over how he overregulated the U.S. economy. He flatlined growth to now 2.1% for last year. Inflation rate is now 13.5% total, all in, under this president. When he was senator, he proudly voted against raising the debt limit 9 times because he was worried about U.S. debt spending. You know, Obama added the most, then the Trump White House. We get that. But we're not in a good place right now, Mick, in this nation.
Yeah, it's always hypocrisy in Washington, D.C. They don't have a really good relationship. I'm not sure that hypocrisy even exists in Washington, D.C. most of the time. Come back to what he's going to say tonight, Liz. I don't know how he gets out of this hole. This is generally a really boring speech. He is not a great speaker. I don't think he's going to be able to move the needle much. Be curious to see if this is the last speech of Ron Klain's chief of staffship or the first one of Jeff Zients's. But again, I don't really know if there's anything he can say to change the momentum. He had a pretty good couple of weeks after the midterms. It's been all downhill after that since the document issue, now the balloon. I'm not sure he can turn it around.
You know,
tonight.
Mick, to your point, it's got to be tough where there's 23 Senate Democrats who face re-election in 2024 to sit through this speech. I mean, the president is again going to tout that January jobs report that more and more economists dispute. So does the St. Louis Federal Reserve. There were not 517,000 jobs created in January. Even Biden's favorite economist, Mark Zandi at Moody's, says he does not believe that. The St. Louis Fed says the U.S. economy actually lost 2.5 million jobs in January. There was a seasonal adjustment to the upside of 3 million. So what do you make of this fight now over the January jobs report more people do not believe?
Yeah, we struggled with this a couple times in the Trump administration when the numbers came in, Liz, and they just felt wrong, either too high or too low. They were just outliers. And you usually had to wait another 30 days to see what the real numbers were. I was stunned by these numbers when they came out last week. I think just about everybody was. We haven't seen numbers like that in many, many years. So I'm not really sure what's going to come of it. But it doesn't surprise me that Zandi, who I know and respect, is saying sort of the same thing, which is, wait a second, whoa, 250 we can believe, but 500 plus is just through the roof. Let's see what's in the data. Let's see what happens on the revisions next month.
Yeah, watch the revisions.
You're going to have the president talk about it tonight because he can, but when they revise down in a month, he'll never talk about it.
That's a good point. So the final thing is, how this president, he feels he gets no respect. Again, he's a Rodney Dangerfield president. What does he expect when he went after big oil from day one? He's now going to go after like stock buybacks. He's going to quadruple the tax on that. He's mad about Chevron's $75 billion in stock buybacks, Mick. Chevron is investing more and more in oil production. It's like 41% versus up more versus last year. So what is with this president savaging and going after U.S. energy jobs like he did and then dismissively saying they can go code like John Kerry did? Who do they think they are going after U.S. jobs like that?
Yeah, I think the Chevron investment in new exploration, new capital investment is 3 times their stock buyback. So get back to the Rodney Dangerfield thing. What did he expect? He expected to be treated the same way that Barack Obama was. He expected to be treated by the left-wing press with essentially never questioning what he was doing whatever he wanted to do without anybody checking him on any facts. He wanted to be able to go and say, you know what, inflation wasn't my problem because I inherited it. But now he's so weak even within his own party that the left-wing press is starting to put back. And that's what I think he's really chafing against. He's not getting that special treatment that Democrat presidents usually get.
That's an important point. Mick Mulvaney, always a pleasure having you on, sir. It's good to see you.